Hi, and welcome to Teaching Tuesdays. This week, I'm going to share a couple of conversation tips, and this can be applied to if you're going to have a conversation with a child, a youth, a friend, a family member, a partner. So basically what we're trying to do is look at ways to invite someone in to maybe a tougher conversation, or a conversation that might have more emotions to it, where we want to discuss like some deeper issues that might be going on or share some concerns that we might be having. So here are a couple of guidelines when communicating with someone we really care about in kind of a safe and productive way. So the first thing is we want to find a mutually good time to talk. So if we are racing out the front door and we're like, oh, by the way, we need to talk about this, might not be the best time to do that, but you could maybe send them a text message or say, hey, I want to talk to you about something. When might be a good time for you? So that invitation to decide together when it's going to be a good time to have that conversation. And we want to try to focus on one topic at a time. I'm a chatterbox, so this can get really challenging for me where I want to fly from one topic to the next and kind of jump all over the place and ramble. When we're having some of those bigger topic conversations, it might be a good idea to try and focus in on kind of one of those main issues and work from there. Even writing a shared list can be helpful if there's lots of things going on that you need to address, and say, okay, which one are we going to tackle today? And by all means, if more comes up in the conversation and both people are feeling okay to keep going, then that can be really great too. So we always want to start discussions from our own experiences. So we want to avoid saying things like, you do this and you feel this. We want to look at ways to share my own experience. So I feel this, or I am struggling here, or this has been really hard for me here. We want to avoid blaming, name calling, or labeling, kind of putting things into a box. So when we avoid those things, it actually makes it a little bit easier for us to be more open to hear the other person's perspective and maybe think outside of that box to find some solutions or some next steps. So if you feel like shutting down, which is really common, we want to honor that in a really safe way, in a respectful way for the other person too. So if you do feel like shutting down, try not to leave the space. Ask if you can pause the conversation for a few moments, maybe to collect yourself, and try and stay together. This way you're showing support for each other. And a bit of connection. So maybe you take a couple deep breaths together, maybe you close your eyes for a few moments, or grab a drink of water, or do any type of coping or soothing activity that makes sense for you, either together or on your own. And then the person that's with you in that conversation can stay and support you as well. So if it is truly time to take a break, some research recommends that a solid break is good for about 20 to 30 minutes, because that gives the body and the emotions a chance to settle down. So the trick is to come back to the conversation after that 20-minute break so that you can carry forward and come together and find a bit of a closure or a solution that might need to happen next. We want to listen actively and take our time. So listening actively means that we're not on our phones. We're not trying to think about what we're going to say next, or how we're going to prove the other person wrong, or find the answers we're looking for. We're just hearing them. We're looking at them. We're making, not so awkward eye contact. We're facing towards them. We are listening to their story as if it was our own story as well. So it's just as important as our own. There's no rush for any big ticket conversations either. Sometimes they can be expanding over a couple of days depending on how the person is feeling. And then we want to maybe repeat back what we hear our partner saying, or our child saying, or the youth, or the friend that or the family member that we're working with. So I hear that you're struggling with this, or it sounds like you're having a tough time here. Those are some really great ways to just acknowledge that we've heard the person as well. So some helpful questions and statements during conversations can be, I have an idea about. So that's a good solution-focused one. Do you want to hear my idea now? So again, you're looking for working together, not just throwing the ideas at the person, but letting them share if they're ready to hear it. If there's been a moment where you needed to shut down or take a break, you can ask the question, are you ready to keep going? Are we ready to keep having this conversation? A great question is, what do you need in this moment? What can I do for you in this moment? How can I support you in this moment? Simple statements like, I'm here for you, I'm listening, I need a moment, let's pause. Those are great ways to show that you're here and that you're honoring not only yourself, but the other person. I want to be here with you even when the conversation is tough. This is a great one for kids and teens too, because if we're talking about some of those big ticket topics, sometimes they think that we don't want to hear it. But we can say things like that. I'm here for you. I want to be here for you even when the conversation is hard. It's okay to feel silly or vulnerable. Sometimes I do that too. So those are some great guidelines and statements that you can use during some conversations. And then one last thing is, when you're ready to end the conversation, try a bit of a closing out exercise, or find your own way to kind of end it in a way where you still feel connected to that other person. And that could be taking 3 deep cleansing breaths together. You could hug it out. You could just hold yourself as they sit next to you. Maybe you're picking the next time you're going to have a follow-up conversation. Maybe you go for a walk or eat a snack or have a cup of tea or a drink of water. So any of those things where you're kind of doing that together, it's signaling the end of the conversation and you're ready to move forward. Okay, so thanks for tuning in to some tips on having some big ticket conversations or some emotional conversations, and we'll see you next time.